Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited to get into today's topic, which is about how you have been appointed for management. Let's figure it out. Welcome back. So in Genesis chapter 2, verse 5, I will just read it and then we can get into it. It says, "Now no shrub had yet appeared on the earth, and no plant had yet sprung up, for the Lord God had not sent rain on the earth, and there was no one to work the ground." A verse later, it says, "Then the Lord God formed a man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being." What these two verses say to me is that, first of all, the opportunities that God has for you are more or less prepared. He thought of creating you so that he could create your opportunities for you. Because as long as your opportunities are not available, God would not have formed you. I hope I'm making sense. But at least that's what this verse said to me. And as we know, this man that was created in the beginning is Adam, who was then put into the Garden of Eden, and he was basically given management over it. But as we know the story of the serpent and Eve and all of that, Adam ended up losing his opportunity to manage the Garden of Eden because he wasn't obedient. So for me, what that tells me is that if Adam had managed to manage himself first, he wouldn't have lost his opportunity to manage that territory that God had created for him. So today's topic is really about drawing your attention to why it is so important for you to first and foremost manage yourself, build yourself up, get yourself in order, and bit by bit as you do that, you will start to see that the opportunities that God has prepared for you will start to spring forth because you're basically ready to step into them. And the opportunities that you have perhaps lost along the way will be restored to you. Now, some people like to take a passive approach to life, and today I also want to really draw your attention to why passivity is not always the best approach. Actually, it's not an approach to go for at all, because some people think that if they do nothing, then nothing will happen, but that's actually not true. And I'm convinced of it, but I would recommend this book over here, which is As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. This book is a really old classic. I think it came out in 1903 for the first time. And I'm also just going to quickly read a snippet from it, which says that it's so beautiful. "Just as a gardener cultivates his plot, keeping it free from weeds and growing the flowers and fruits which he requires, so may a man tend the garden of his mind, weeding out all the wrong, useless, impure thoughts, and cultivating toward perfection the flowers and the fruits of right and useful and pure thoughts. By pursuing this process, a man sooner or later discovers that he is the master gardener of his soul and the director of his life." And before that, it says, "A man's mind may be likened to a garden which may be intelligently cultivated or allowed to run wild." So if you engage, then you're carrying out intelligent cultivation. If you're passive, then you're basically allowing your mind to run wild. And by that, you're also allowing your life to run wild. But whether cultivated or neglected, it must and it will bring forth. If no useful seeds are put into it, then an abundance of useless weed seeds will fall therein and will continue to produce their kind. If we don't proactively, each one for themselves, proactively, groom their minds, cultivate their minds intelligently, as you get information, apply it, as you get wisdom, apply it. If you don't proactively do that, then your life will start to grow wild and go in all kinds of directions, and the opportunities that God has prepared for you will be lost because you won't have the character needed, the integrity needed, the persona needed to step into it. So it's not enough that God breathes his breath of life into you. He also basically, by forming you, he capacitates you to handle opportunities, and then it's up to you to say, hey, I'm going to take what God has given me and I'm going to manage it, and I'm going to organize it, and I'm going to follow his instructions and do well. And I think it's one verse that says that he who has been faithful with a little will be given much. So it's a progressive thing that God does with us, that as we manage the little that he has given us, he starts to give us more and more and more. And that is where the feeling of wholeness, of success, of achievement comes from. And one might wonder, how can I practically do that? How can I practically make sure that I do not lose out on my Garden of Eden? How can I practically make sure that good things are flourishing and happening in my life? I have the 5S formula for you, or technique, or approach, or strategy, whatever it is that you want to call it. And I borrowed this from basically lean management, which is, I know that it is the management style that basically transformed car manufacturing. But who says that you can't take a few tips from car manufacturing and apply them to your personal life? I mean, God gives us these pop-up notifications, like you come across an idea and he gives you the wisdom to know that that idea is full of such clarity that you can take it and form it a little bit to suit your situation. The 5 S's are sort, set in order, shine, standardize, and sustain. Yes, let me just reiterate that. Sort, set in order, sort, set in order, shine, standardize, and sustain. Sort, for me, and I've done this exercise, so I'm not asking you to do something that I haven't tested and tried, and actually I'm continually doing this. If you're interested in continuous improvement, this will sound familiar to you. Maybe you had named it, maybe you hadn't, but it will make sense to you when I kind of like dig deeper into it. Basically, sort is like pile up and list out all the activities that you do, and then sort them for those that are value adding versus those that are non-value adding. Because, you know, when you think about the word yes and no, every time you say a yes, you're simultaneously saying a no. When you say a yes to a non-value adding activity, you're basically saying no to the possibility of having been doing a value adding activity in that time. And this sort approach basically helps you to, first of all, become aware of the non-value adding activities, and then proactively weed them out so that you can replace them with value adding activities. And if you misunderstand this approach, you might think that it's all work. But we have to remember, even the God who created us basically took time to rest. So something like rest, taking time to breathe, taking time to take a shower, taking time to read, all those are value adding activities. But you can't know how much waste is happening in your day if you don't take the time to really sit down and carry out this kind of analysis. In the car manufacturing world or in the lean management world, they refer to this as value stream mapping, where you really, if I take a day for instance and I want to see what are my habits, how am I actually eating, why am I putting on weight, there's no effect that is without cause. So if you carry out a value stream mapping, you become very, very aware of the causes that are basically producing the effects that you see, and then you can get into the activities that are in a compounded way resulting, releasing that result, and you can change those activities in order to eventually affect the result that you want to see. I hope this is all making sense to you. So, and I hope that you can make the effort. It makes you can apply it anywhere to your you can use it to sort your attitude, to sort your day, to sort your week, to sort your month, but it requires that you invest the time to really write down so you can analyze and check off the ones that are value adding and delete those that are non-value adding. Now once you have done that, then you move on to step 2, which is set in order, which is basically rearrange things in a way that is going to help you to do life more effectively. If for instance you realize after doing your value stream mapping that for instance you're not drinking enough water, then what you want to do is set things in order around your house, around your office desk, in your car, on your bike. Set things up in such a way that you can place your hydration where you can very, very easily, with the least amount of effort, reach it. So put a glass of water first thing in the morning on your working desk. Put a bottle of water, not just a glass, but with a full bottle, and then you can set a target for yourself to make sure that, before noon that day you should have drunk all of that water. That's just an example. So yeah, that's where a lot of order starts to come into your life, and with more order you basically get more room to get more things that are important to be done and to be done effectively. Then when you finish that, you want to think about shine. Shine is basically everything that re-energizes you. If you think about, for instance, your work day, you want to start thinking about how can I stand up every 5 minutes, or how can I, for instance, save so that I'm not falling into minus every other week, or what are the little things that I can do, for instance, to, I don't know, improve my rest, reduce my stress, and all of that. These are shine activities. This could look like jogging, breathing, stretching, yeah, listening to your favorite music, listening to a podcast. Those are all shine activities. And then you want to standardize them, just that because you sort and you set in order and you define what activities can regenerate you and basically make you shine is not enough. To standardize is basically to say, hey, to organize them, to set the time and the place where these things are going to happen, so that you do not easily fall into temptation of backsliding into bad habits. You can say, I'm going to, make sure I pack a box of fruits. I will do this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I will prepare the fruits the night before so that in the morning there's no excuse about it, and all of that kind of stuff. So really start to put some really reliable, repetitive structure around it. And sustain is basically, I just kind of gave it away by saying repetitive, because when you say I'm going to make the fruit Sunday evening, so Monday morning when I'm going to work I just have to pick the box and leave the house, then what you're doing in that sense is creating a rhythm that will become sustainable, that you will be able to pick up and go running with for the month, for the quarter, and for the week. And what is very important about sustaining is that you basically also schedule time for review so that you can double check yourself and see, how am I doing? What results is this action bringing me? If you committed, for instance, to saving, I don't know what amount per week or every 2 weeks or every month, it's very good that you stop and you check in and say, how is it going? Have I been true to my word? Have I committed? If you engage in an investment plan, you want to set a rhythm at which you realistically check in and say, what is my return on investment? Is it really worth it to keep going this path? Because when you do that, when you start to see your money change, when you start to see your health change, when you start to see yourself get more out of your time, that is what gives you the drive to keep going and basically makes your plan sustainable. Okay, I try to really crush that. I hope that you can take this management technique and apply it to yourself. Check yourself, sort, set things in order, do some shining, stuff that you like, and standardize it, structure, set a time, and then keep it sustainable by holding yourself accountable, and maybe partnering with somebody so that they too can hold you accountable. And the very most important thing is to keep at it. Do not give up. This is part of change management, that you wear the mentality of, I am not going to give up. It took, I don't know how old you are as you're watching this video, it took you that many years to become the person that you are now. So if you try to change something, you have to realize that your system will not immediately cooperate with you. And therefore, right from the start, tell yourself that, I know that this is not going to be easy. I know that I might have some fallback points, but I commit to keeping on and keeping on and keeping on. And, just really trying and having accountability, partners, and holding those review sessions with myself, with my diary, my journal, whatever it is that you need to do, but that you keep the momentum. Okay, you are appointed for management, and it's very, very important that you first of all manage yourself, your time, your integrity, your character, because once you have this, there's absolutely no territory that you will not be able to manage, or there will be no opportunity that you will lose due to a lack of self-management. So this is very, very important. It's important for how you will achieve your goals. It's important for how 2021 will turn out for you. It's very important also for the things that God is very much looking forward to entrusting into your hands. So I hope that you take it to heart, and leave me a note, leave me a comment. Please don't forget to subscribe and share, and see you again next Sunday. God bless you. Much love. Bye-bye.